In Lancaster County, there is a woman who has never owned a jar of commercial face cream. She is 73 years old. Her skin shows fewer deep wrinkles than women 20 years younger who have spent thousands of dollars on department store treatments. That fact alone should make you stop and ask something you probably have not asked before. What does she know that the label on your nightstand cream does not want you to find out? This is not about going without skincare. It is about what happens when you quietly remove the products that were never actually helping you and possibly were doing the opposite. Because here is the part nobody in the beauty aisle is going to say out loud. Several of the most widely sold anti-aging creams in America contain ingredients that, with prolonged daily use on mature skin, accelerate the very process they claim to slow down. Not in theory, in measurable, documented ways. And if you are a woman over 60, your skin is not the same skin it was at 40. The barrier is thinner. The lipid layer, the natural oils that hold moisture inside the dermis, is already depleted, which means that certain synthetic compounds that your skin could partially tolerate at 35 now penetrate deeper and disrupt more. The problem is not that you have been buying the wrong brand. The problem is that the entire category was never designed with your biology in mind. The methods I am drawing from are inspired by traditional practices of Old Order Amish communities in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, and Holmes County, Ohio. Communities that have not adopted commercial cosmetics, not out of poverty, but out of a deliberate choice to maintain the practices their grandmothers used and their grandmothers before them. What they have preserved is not folklore. It is a consistent, multi-generational experiment in skin aging under conditions of no industrial interference. And the results are visible to anyone who spends time in those communities. But before we get to what they use instead, you need to understand what you are currently using and why it may be working against you. In 1938, the United States passed the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, which gave the FDA authority over food and drugs, but treated cosmetics almost as an afterthought. The law allowed cosmetic companies to put ingredients on the market without any pre-approval process. The FDA could act after the fact if a product caused proven harm, but had no power to require safety testing before a product reached your bathroom shelf. That framework sat essentially unchanged for 84 years, until 2022, when a modest update finally passed. 84 years. 2 generations of American women using products whose safety architecture was built in the era of black and white television. In 1976, the industry created the Cosmetic Ingredient Review Panel, which sounds like an independent oversight body, but is funded by the Personal Care Products Council, which is the industry's own trade association. That panel has reviewed more than 4,000 cosmetic ingredients over the decades. But here is the part that matters. It has no enforcement power. It can flag an ingredient as a concern. It cannot remove it from shelves. The companies review the panel's findings, consider their options, and proceed as they see fit. This is the system that approved what is on your nightstand right now. And then there is fragrance. If you pick up almost any anti-aging cream and look at the ingredients list, you will find the word fragrance or parfum appearing as a single ingredient. A single word! In the United States, that single word is legally permitted to represent a proprietary blend of hundreds of individual chemical compounds, none of which have to be disclosed. The European Union prohibited that level of concealment in 2003. That was more than 2 decades ago. American women are still buying products with a black box where the actual chemistry should be listed. On mature, thin barrier skin, undisclosed fragrance compounds are among the most consistent triggers for low-grade chronic inflammation. And low-grade chronic inflammation, sustained over months and years, is one of the primary drivers of accelerated visible aging. Not wrinkles from expression, the kind that seem to deepen quietly faster than they should. Now let us talk about specific categories, because this is where women in their 60s lose the most money and absorb the most harm. The first category is daily SPF moisturizers that contain chemical UV filters. Oxybenzone and octinoxate, 2 of the most common, are absorbed through the skin into the bloodstream, which the FDA itself confirmed in a study published in 2019 in the Journal of the American Medical Association. That absorption was detected after a single day of use. After repeated daily use at the levels common in an anti-aging moisturizer, the systemic concentration was significant enough that the FDA called for more safety data. That call went out in 2019. The products are still on shelves, unchanged. If you are applying one of these every morning because you were told it would protect your skin from aging, you are absorbing a compound whose long-term safety at daily doses has not been confirmed in postmenopausal women specifically. The second category is retinol products marketed aggressively at women over 50. Retinol itself is a derivative of vitamin A, and there is genuine evidence that tretinoin, its prescription-strength cousin, can support collagen production. The problem is with over-the-counter retinol formulations sold for daily use. On skin that is already thin from hormonal changes, daily retinol application without medical guidance creates a condition called retinoid dermatitis in a significant percentage of users. The skin becomes sensitized, the barrier becomes more compromised, and the skin that looked tired before now looks raw and reactive. Then they sell you a recovery product for the damage caused by the first product. That cycle is not an accident. It is a revenue model. Here is the number that changes everything. A 2021 analysis of the premium anti-aging skincare market found that the average American woman over 55 spends approximately $480 per year on facial products, specifically marketed as anti-aging. That number does not include general moisturizers or sunscreens. Just the serums, the creams, the eye treatments, the targeted formulas, $480 a year on a regulatory system that has never required those products to prove they do what the label says before being sold. The third category is daily exfoliating acids in high concentrations. Glycolic acid, lactic acid, and salicylic acid formulations sold for at-home daily use are designed with younger skin tolerances in mind. After 60, the skin's natural cell turnover has already slowed significantly, but the skin's ability to recover from chemical disruption has slowed even more. Persistent use of high-concentration acid strips the acid mantle, which is the thin protective film that maintains the skin's natural pH and keeps pathogenic bacteria out. When the acid mantle is repeatedly disrupted, the skin begins to look paradoxically older. Dull, fragile, inflamed in ways that no concealer quite covers. Many women interpret this as the normal progression of aging and buy a stronger product. It is not normal progression. It is induced damage. A woman in Holmes County, 61 years old, a mother of 8, has used nothing on her face for 30 years except a cloth with warm water, a small amount of raw tallow from their own animals rendered at home, and in summer, a preparation of raw apple cider vinegar diluted in water applied once a week. Her monthly cost is, by her own calculation, less than $2. She said something that stayed with me. She said, "My grandmother's face looked like her face." Not like she was fighting something. That phrase, "not fighting something," is what this whole conversation is really about. What the Amish communities of Lancaster County have preserved, without marketing it, without knowing they were preserving anything in particular, is a relationship with skin that is supportive rather than combative. Tallow, which is rendered beef fat, has a fatty acid composition that is remarkably similar to the lipid profile of human sebum. This is not a recent discovery. It is basic biochemistry that has been documented for decades. When mature skin has lost significant amounts of its own lipid layer, applying something with a compatible molecular structure does not confuse the barrier, it supports it. The skin does not have to defend against it. Apple cider vinegar diluted at roughly 1 part to 8 parts. Water has a pH close enough to the skin's natural acid mantle that it can help restore disrupted surface balance without the aggressive stripping effect of synthetic toners. This is not a miracle. It is pH chemistry. But that chemistry was understood empirically by farm women long before the concept of acid mantle was named in a laboratory. Now, One limitation that must be said plainly: these traditional approaches address maintenance and barrier support. They are not a treatment for active dermatological conditions. If you have rosacea that is flaring, eczema in an active phase, or any inflammatory skin condition being managed by a physician, these methods are not a substitute for medical guidance. Tallow, despite its compatibility with healthy skin, can be occlusive in ways that worsen certain inflammatory conditions. That is a real limit, and it matters. The Amish did not invent these approaches. They preserved them. Tallow-based skin preparations were used in ancient Rome, where animal fats were combined with plant extracts and applied to the face as a primary moisturizing treatment. Egyptian cosmetic formulations dating back several thousand years incorporated rendered animal fats as a base ingredient. In traditional Japanese skincare, the concept of protecting the skin's natural oil barrier rather than stripping it has been foundational for centuries. Korean skincare philosophy, long before the modern industry commercialized it, centered on layering thin, compatible substances rather than aggressive chemical intervention. In Ayurvedic tradition, ghee, which is clarified butter, has been used topically for skin health for thousands of years. These are not parallel coincidences. They are independent cultures arriving at the same understanding: that the skin does well when you work with its biology and declines when you work against it. The Amish simply never stopped. There is a different category of products worth naming specifically, because they are positioned as the sophisticated, clean alternative, and they carry their own problems. Vitamin C serums, particularly those stabilized with synthetic preservatives and sold in transparent packaging that allows light degradation. Vitamin C, in its active form, ascorbic acid, is one of the most unstable cosmetic ingredients that exists. It oxidizes rapidly when exposed to air and light. An oxidized vitamin C serum does not support collagen synthesis. It delivers a pro-oxidant compound to your skin. The way you can tell if your vitamin C serum has turned yellow or orange, you are applying oxidized product. The advice to still use it up, it is not harmful, is incorrect. Oxidized ascorbic acid on skin creates free radical activity, which is the cellular damage mechanism that aging creams claim to reverse. Peptide creams deserve a separate and careful conversation. Peptides are short chains of amino acids, and the theory behind topical peptides is that they signal the skin to produce more collagen. The theoretical mechanism is real, the delivery problem is enormous. The skin's barrier, especially healthy mature skin, is specifically designed to prevent large molecules from penetrating. Most peptides in over-the-counter formulations do not pass the barrier in concentrations sufficient to produce the signaling effect. You are paying, in many cases, $50 to $150 for a product where the active ingredient sits on top of the skin, does not reach the dermis, and washes off. The peptide research that shows genuine results uses pharmaceutical delivery systems, injection-adjacent technologies, or concentrations not available in retail products. The jar on the shelf is borrowing the credibility of the research without the mechanism that made the research work. The last category, and perhaps the most quietly damaging, is the overnight mask or sleeping pack that promises deep hydration and cellular renewal while you sleep. These products are typically formulated with high concentrations of occlusive silicones and synthetic polymers that create a film over the skin. For young skin with a strong barrier, that film is simply cosmetic. For mature skin with a compromised barrier, that occlusive layer can interfere with the skin's natural nighttime processes, which include mild transepidermal water loss that serves as a regulatory mechanism and gas exchange at the surface. The skin that looks plump in the morning from the occlusion is not more hydrated in any meaningful dermal sense. It is temporarily swollen from surface moisture that could not escape. By afternoon, that effect is gone, and the barrier that was interrupted during the night is slightly more compromised than before. This is where the Amish approach offers a contrast that is almost embarrassing in its simplicity. Nothing at night, or nearly nothing. A very thin application of something chemically compatible with the skin if the climate is extremely dry, then sleep, then warm water in the morning. The skin's own biology, uninterrupted, is remarkably capable when you stop giving it things to defend against. If you live in a rural area, or grew up in one, or had a grandmother whose skin aged differently than the women on television, there is a good chance something in what you just heard felt familiar rather than foreign. I want to know where you are from and whether the women in your family had a different approach to skincare than what the magazines were selling. Leave that in the comments. And a second question, because this one runs deeper. Was there something specific your mother or grandmother used on her skin that you remember but stopped using somewhere along the way? Sometimes the knowledge is still there, just buried under 30 years of advertising telling us it was not enough. If you are the kind of woman who believes real knowledge has been quietly pushed aside to protect someone else's profit, you already know what to do. In the next video, we are going into something specific. What the fragrance industry has been legally hiding inside the word parfum on your skincare label, and the moment in 1973 when the International Fragrance Association, a private trade body, decided to make its own safety assessments rather than submit to any independent regulatory authority, what they decided to review and what they decided to leave alone is still affecting every product in your bathroom today.